Hey, this is Julia Wallace with Left Voice. I wanted to speak on the article that just came out, the NBC News article, but more directly to the op-ed piece that E.D. Mondainé, president of the Portland chapter of the NAACP, has written about what he calls the spectacle of white protesters in Portland. So let's be clear, the protests that have been increasing in size and scope in Portland have been majority white led. There is a significant amount of people who are part of the Black Lives Matter movement and black people who are part of the Wall of Moms and black people participating in these protests. But also the city of Portland is 6% black, but they are majority white protests. His discussion about spectacle is about basically people fighting the federal troops. And he's saying that the message against systemic racism has been removed or lost focus. I think federal troops occupying a city is going to take focus towards that. But in the protests that have been happening, people have been denouncing systemic racism. They've been denouncing the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. They have been centering and saying Black Lives Matter. But I think that the actual crux of it is that E.D. Mondainé opposes any kind of confrontation with federal troops. And when you read the op-ed, it's full of things like outside agitators, people with outside agendas, even though, of course, we know most of the people there are from Portland. This is really a kind of red baiting tactic to say that this is outside agendas. It's not. It's people in Portland fighting for Portland. But I wanted to quote him in saying that I'm not suggesting retreat. Instead, I'm proposing that we take the cause of Black Lives Matter into those places where tear gas and rubber bullets and federal agents cannot find us, where there is a less risk of spectacle distancing from our true aims. In boardrooms, in schools, in city councils, and the halls of justice, in the smoky back rooms of a duplicitous government. That is where we will finally dismantle the gears of the brutal racist machine that has been terrorizing Black Americans and hollowing out the moral character of this nation since its inception. So, I don't know. The moral characters of this nation is based on immorality, exploitation, murder, genocide. So I don't know what it's hollowing out. That's the basis of it. But really, what he's saying is that we need to be more like the NAACP, making deals in these boardrooms, meeting with these people, compromising and negotiating. But what we also know is that the reason why the murders of Breonna Taylor, the murder of George Floyd, and many other people are highlighted is because of the uprisings that have happened, because they weren't in the boardrooms. They didn't wait for the next city council meeting. We didn't wait for November to vote for either capitalist party, Democrat or Republican, to continue to exploit us and to support the police who exploit us and attack us and brutalize us. What Mondainé and many other reformists are calling for is silence and obedience. They want people, particularly they're using white people, before they would say in the beginning of the Ferguson and things like that, that we need peaceful protests and we need to let the situation play out and go to the courts and whatnot. Now, because they know they can't do that, they're saying these people are outside, these are outside agitators with other kinds of agendas, and they're saying that they need to obey black leadership, which they're referring to themselves. But really what we need is to continue those protests, to continue the uprisings that are happening in Detroit, in Louisville, in Austin, in Seattle, in Portland, in all the cities. Regardless of the size of the population, we need everyone to be opposing racism. And to oppose racism and to calling for abolishing the police, that means we need to oppose capitalism. We need to oppose imperialism. We need to unite internationally against the attacks on black people and all oppressed people and against the attacks on the working class. You notice the Mondainé, he didn't say anything about workplace struggles. We need strikes against police terror, strikes against police brutality, and against the austerity measures that are for sure to affect disproportionately black and brown people. We need to keep fighting in the streets. We don't need supposed allies to fall behind the folks that have been using the strategies of meeting with our oppressors to make deals and kind of conform to that. That's been happening for decades. It's not working. We need a revolution, and we need to organize ourselves to figure out how we can strategically and politically make that change. That's what we need to be fighting for. This person, they're saying they're not calling for retreat, but that's exactly what they're saying. Retreating from the streets, supposedly where rubber bullets can't hurt us. Of course they can. They're going wherever they can. The only thing that can stop them is us. Our militant organizing, combative struggle, multi-ethnic fight against the police and against systemic racism. And that means against capitalism, and that means against imperialism, and it means against bigotry. Solidarity to all the folks fighting in the streets. Free the people who have been arrested all over the country, especially in Portland. 46 people were arrested. We need to unite together against this system and continue to fight these people wherever they're at.